What if your biggest threat isn't the one shouting in your face, but the one silently smiling beside you? You joke with them, you trust them, maybe you even confide in them, all while they quietly sharpen the knife meant for your back. In a world obsessed with appearances, the most dangerous enemy isn't loud. It's patient, charming, hidden, and it might already be standing right next to you. Let's get one thing straight. The real threat isn't the person who throws daggers with their eyes from across the room. It's not the one who's openly rude, who clearly doesn't like you, or who posts passive-aggressive comments on your stories. No. The real danger, the one that slips under the radar, is far more subtle. It's the person who greets you with a warm smile, who laughs a little too hard at your jokes, who compliments your outfit, brings you your favorite coffee, and secretly fantasizes about watching your world crumble. Sounds like something out of a psychological thriller, right? But the scariest thing, this isn't fiction, it's real, and it's far more common than you'd think. Right now, this very moment, someone in your life could be playing the long game, plotting your fall, smiling at your success while they quietly prepare to dismantle it brick by brick. And the worst part? You wouldn't suspect a thing, not until the damage is done. Not until your reputation is stained, your mental health is shot, and your closest relationships are in shambles. Because here's the truth. Hatred is loud, but real malice, real, calculated destruction, that wears a mask. A perfect, glossy, camera-ready mask that society has trained us to trust. It's not the glaring eyes that should scare you. It's the filtered friendliness, the fake kindness. The too good to be true personas, because that's where the venom lives. Camouflaged beneath politeness, rehearsed empathy, and just the right amount of attention to keep you off guard. And you know what's terrifying. Most people miss the warning signs. They dismiss their gut feelings. They explain away the discomfort. They ignore the patterns until it's too late. But not you. Not after today. This video isn't designed to scare you. It's built to arm you with knowledge, awareness, and survival tools. What you're about to hear are 5 chilling but deeply overlooked signs that someone in your life may not just dislike you, they may actively want to erase you. And I don't mean just unfollow you or ghost you. I mean remove you from the picture, entirely. These aren't conspiracy theories or wild guesses. These are patterns, real behavioral cues backed by psychology, case studies, and chilling real-life stories. Recognizing them might not only protect your peace, it might just save your life. So before we dive in, do yourself a favor. Hit that subscribe button. Because after this, you'll never look at friendly the same way again. Ready? Sign 1. The silent observer. Let's start with one of the most dangerous and eerie behaviors someone can display. And yet, it's so subtle that 99% of people won't even notice it. I call this person the silent observer. Now, I'm not talking about the nosy neighbor who gossips too much or someone who checks your story out of curiosity. I'm talking about something darker, more strategic, more surgical. This person doesn't just notice you, they study you. They map out your life like it's a battlefield. They memorize your habits, your triggers, your weaknesses. They observe your patterns, when you leave home, when you're most distracted, what makes you anxious, who you confide in. And they do it with such precision. It's like watching a military recon mission unfold. Except the battlefield is your life. They'll remember things you never even told them. Your favorite coffee order, the playlist you listen to when you're stressed, your gym schedule. They'll start showing up in places you frequent, your park, your grocery store, the same quiet cafe at the same time every Thursday. At first, you might shrug it off. What a coincidence, you'll think. But the coincidences pile up. And suddenly it doesn't feel random anymore. Why is this so dangerous? Because we've been taught to dismiss subtlety as paranoia. We've been told to be nice, don't overthink, or worse, you're being dramatic. But predators thrive in silence. They rely on your self-doubt. They weaponize your hesitation. Let me tell you about Christine. She was a mid-level manager at a finance firm, smart, respected, and just coming out of a breakup with a man named Victor. At first, Victor seemed to take it well. No drama, no fights, just polite distance. But then, odd things started happening. Christine would see Victor at the cafe she always went to before work, then again at her spin class. Once, he showed up at a work networking event, claiming he didn't know she'd be there. Each time she brushed it off, told herself she was imagining things, told herself he was just having a hard time moving on. But Victor wasn't struggling with heartbreak. He was watching. He was gathering data. And one day, he used everything he knew to sabotage her promotion, leaking private messages to her boss under a fake identity. That's the level of danger we're talking about here. People like the silent observer don't explode. They erode, quietly, steadily, relentlessly. So, what can you do? The first step is to pay attention to your instincts, to the patterns, to the quiet, unsettling feeling in your gut when something seems off. Because often, your body senses danger long before your mind accepts it. In the next segment, we'll explore another red flag that's just as sinister, but even harder to spot, because it hides behind helpfulness. But before we get there, take a breath. Reflect. Have you noticed someone who's always just there? Someone whose presence feels too convenient, too frequent, too curated? If so, don't ignore it and stick around, because what comes next will change how you read every interaction in your life. Let's pick up right where we left off. Christine thought she was just being watched, but the truth was far more calculated. She and Victor had broken up months ago. No big scene, no drama, just distance. She thought, like many would, that maybe he was just having a hard time letting go. Maybe he missed her. Maybe he didn't know how to move on. But with time came the realization. Victor wasn't just hanging around. He was tracking her. Not physically, at least not in an obvious way, but he seemed to know things he shouldn't. Christine switched gyms. She changed her route to work. She even started shopping at completely different grocery stores in different neighborhoods. And still, he showed up. No confrontation, no threats, just presence. Quiet, consistent, chilling. At first, her friends laughed it off. He's obsessed, they said. Creepy, yes, but probably harmless. But what they missed, and what Christine finally understood, was that this wasn't about love. It wasn't about obsession. It was premeditation. This wasn't someone yearning for closure. This was someone eliminating variables, reducing unpredictability, preparing. This kind of behavior isn't fueled by heartbreak. It's fueled by control. Think of it like a chessboard. Every move Victor made was a calculation. Every reappearance, a test, a probe. A way to gather more information before his next move. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said that a wise person is not just cautious of the outside world, but deeply aware of anything that disturbs their inner peace. When something or someone disrupts that peace consistently and without explanation, It's not a coincidence, it's a signal. It's your mind's alarm system saying, investigate, don't excuse. We live in a hyper-connected world. Surveillance no longer requires a black van parked across the street. All it takes is social media access, a few mutual friends, and a bit of pattern recognition. And the most dangerous people. They don't throw tantrums, they don't scream or threaten, they smile. They observe, and they remember everything. Christine realized this too late. But you don't have to. This isn't about living in fear. It's about living with awareness. Discernment is the first step toward protection, and discernment begins with observation. The Stoics believed wisdom starts by seeing things clearly, without delusion, without excuses, and ends with action. So if someone keeps popping into your life without invitation, especially after you've made efforts to distance yourself, you have every right to question it. It's not paranoia, it's perception. Every time your gut says, something's off, don't silence it. Don't shame yourself for noticing. Trust it. Because often, it's not your mind overthinking. It's your soul recognizing danger before your logic can explain it. Remember this, the most unsettling threats are rarely loud. They're the ones that smile, while they silently study your every move. The tJustHATEYou sign. 2. The saboteur strategy. Here's a deeply disturbing psychological truth. Studies in social psychology have shown that if someone hears a lie about a person, even when that lie is later proven false, it still leaves a stain, a subtle, lingering suspicion. Even if the truth is revealed, the damage is already done. tJustHATEYou, we just uncovered how a lie, even when exposed, can still poison perception. Now let's dive deeper into the chilling art of manipulation behind it. The saboteur strategy. That's the insidious power of suggestion. Not confrontation, not direct attack, just a whisper. In the right moment, to the right person. And that's exactly what makes the saboteur strategy so dangerous. This isn't about someone seeking petty revenge. This is about someone who isn't satisfied until you're not just hurt, but completely isolated. They don't just attack you. They quietly and systematically declare war on your entire support system. It's not loud. It's not messy. It's surgical. This isn't just gossip. It's psychological warfare, a silent campaign of character assassination so subtle that by the time you notice something is wrong, it's already too late. These saboteurs move like shadows, weaving through your life unnoticed. They know exactly what to say and when. To your boss? A quiet remark suggesting you're becoming unreliable. To your best friend? A worried tone. Have you noticed how distant they've been lately? They never say too much. Never accuse directly. That would make them look obvious. No, they plant seeds, tiny poison suggestions, doubt, suspicion, misunderstandings, and the genius of it. Each moment feels isolated. Each incident feels disconnected. Even you might start doubting yourself. Why is everything falling apart at once? That's the plan. It's not chaos. It's calculated fragmentation. This is no emotional outburst. It's not impulsive. It's methodical. They don't scream in your face. They pull strings behind the curtain. They choreograph conflict. They frame you as unstable, while they wear the mask of the calm, concerned friend. And in the end, you're not just hurt, you're discredited. In your workplace, among your friends, maybe even in your family. The goal isn't just to damage your image. It's to cut you off from every life raft, because when they land the final blow, They want you completely alone. From a Stoic perspective, this tactic is especially dangerous. Why? Because it doesn't just threaten your image, it clouds your mind. Stoicism teaches us to stand strong from within, to cultivate clarity, to use obstacles as fuel. As Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." But when a saboteur is at work, the obstacle isn't something to grow from. It's a fog, a toxic mist that distorts your vision. And if you're not careful, you stop reflecting. You start reacting. You scramble to fix the misunderstandings. You try to defend yourself. You explain, you clarify, you beg people to believe you. But the more you try to prove your innocence, the more guilty you seem. It's a trap, and the only way out is not to step in. In the last segment, we uncovered how saboteurs don't need to scream to be heard. They just whisper to the right people at the right time. Now let's talk about what you can actually do when you find yourself in their crosshairs. That's why awareness is your first and strongest line of defense. Not panic, not retaliation, just stillness and strategic clarity. When your world starts shaking from quiet manipulation, don't waste energy chasing every rumor. That's their goal, to scatter your focus. Instead, ground yourself in what is real. Anchor yourself in evidence, not emotion. You owe yourself the truth, not a performance for others. Preserve your integrity. But don't be naive. Protect yourself strategically. Document everything. Every message, every email, every odd pattern. Every shift in tone. Keep a timeline, not to obsess over, but to stay sharp. Because when things start falling apart, your records may be the only solid ground you have left. And keep your circle intentional. Not everyone who smiles at you is on your side, and not everyone who disagrees with you is your enemy. Clarity comes when your energy isn't spent defending your name, but defending your peace. Both Stoic philosophy and spiritual scripture align here. Character reveals itself over time, not in moments of chaos, but in the quiet aftermath. Yes, people might believe lies temporarily. Yes, some may distance themselves from you, but truth, like a soul unshaken, has a way of enduring. So when someone keeps appearing near your conflicts, when they're always around the drama, but never quite the cause, when their name is never spoken, but their shadow lingers, stop giving them the benefit of the doubt. You're not just dealing with a troublemaker. You're facing someone who designs destruction. And the first step in defending your ground, refuse to play their game. Because as long as you react, they still control the script. But when you detach, calm, clear, untouchable, they lose their grip. Sign 3, the false friend facade. Now we enter the darkest terrain yet. This is the third and perhaps the most deceptive sign that someone doesn't just dislike you. They might be plotting your downfall from within your trust circle. The false friend facade. It's one of the oldest plays in human history, and yet it remains one of the most undetectable. Why? Because we're conditioned to believe that kindness equals virtue. That warmth equals loyalty. That closeness equals trust. So when someone you barely know suddenly becomes overly friendly, overly curious, overly involved, we don't question it. We celebrate it. But you should pause. Because when someone rapidly shifts from casual acquaintance to emotional confidant, and you can't trace why, that's not a bond. That's a tactic. These people aren't trying to build trust. They're building access. What looks like compassion? Often a performance. They'll start asking very specific questions. Who do you talk to most? What's your schedule like? Have you told anyone about that trauma? They'll frame it as concern. But it's data collection. Soon, they're spending time with your family. They know the names of your coworkers. They offer to help with errands. They check in more than your real friends. It feels comforting. It feels good. Because for the first time in a while, someone's really there. But behind that soft voice and warm smile, a cold, calculating mind is mapping your emotional blueprint like a war general planning an invasion. They don't want your healing. They want your weaknesses. Every secret you share, a weapon they file away. Every vulnerable story, a handle they'll later twist. This isn't friendship, it's infiltration. They're not building a connection. They're designing the fastest route to your softest spots. So when the time comes, they know exactly where to strike. Previously, we uncovered the deceptive warmth of the false friend, the one who gets close, not to support you, but to study you. Now let's explore why this tactic is so deeply chilling through the eyes of Stoic wisdom. From a Stoic perspective, this strategy isn't just manipulative, it's a betrayal of the soul. Seneca, one of the great Roman Stoics, once warned, "A friend is someone you trust with your soul." But trust must be earned, not given freely to anyone who smiles and listens. Those words echo louder than ever today. Modern life conditions us to seek connection fast, to open up quickly, to bond with people we barely know. But the Stoics believed in discernment, in sophrein, or what we might call wise moderation. They taught that emotional safety isn't about guarding ourselves from everyone, it's about knowing who deserves access and why. So if someone storms into your life suddenly, too intense, too personal, too soon, pause. Ask yourself, what are they really after? It's easy to confuse familiarity with friendship. But predators? They count on that confusion. They mirror your language. They echo your pain. They tell you just enough about their own trauma to make you feel safe, safe enough to start sharing yours. And while you feel connection, what they're really doing is compiling data. Like spies building a psychological dossier, they file away your fears, your hopes, your patterns. Every detail you reveal is logged, quietly, patiently, deliberately. And here's the trap. Because they're wrapped in empathy and charm, no one suspects them. Not your friends, not your family, not even you. Until it's too late. So, what should you do? The answer isn't fear, it's awareness. Slow the relationship down. Guard your privacy like your peace depends on it, because it does. Ask yourself, why does this person want access to my life now? Why this sudden interest in my routines, my struggles, my relationships? Because real friendship is built over time. It grows roots, it deepens naturally. But sabotage comes with speed. It moves fast, too fast for your instincts to catch up until you're already entangled. Remember, trust isn't just about who makes you feel safe when they're with you. It's about who still protects you when your back is turned. A false friend doesn't just want your loyalty. They want your vulnerabilities. And once they gather enough, they know exactly where to strike. So yes, be kind, be warm. But above all, be wise. Because when evil wears a friendly face, it isn't connection, it's camouflage. Now you see, sign 4, escalating aggression. Now we arrive at the fourth deadly sign, and perhaps the one most dangerously ignored. I call it calculated escalation. Here's the disturbing truth. When someone harbors dark intentions, they don't always show it up front. They rarely start with an obvious threat. Instead, they test, they measure, they condition. They push your boundaries little by little, like turning the heat up 1 degree at a time, until one day, you're boiling and didn't even notice the water got hot. It often begins with what seems like harmless aggression. A joke with a bitter edge. I could kill you right now. Followed by laughter. Or a sarcastic jab. You're lucky I don't lose my temper today. Maybe even a story about losing control once, told with a chuckle. At first, it might seem like dark humor. Edgy banter, just a bit twisted. But make no mistake, these are not random remarks. They are deliberate probes. A psychological sonar. They want to see how you react. Do you flinch? Do you laugh nervously? Do you ignore it? Because if you don't challenge it, they take it as permission. Each time, they escalate slightly more, testing the water, seeing how far they can go before you resist. This is how abuse begins, not with fists, but with whispers, not with screams, but with sarcasm, not with violence, but with words that feel off but are brushed aside. It's the predator's version of conditioning. And once you're conditioned, you stop noticing the danger until it's too close, too deep, too late. We just explored how dangerous people escalate slowly, testing limits with disturbing jokes and subtle invasions of space. Now, let me share a real-life case that shows exactly how far these behaviors can go and why ignoring the early signs can be deadly. This case still haunts veteran investigators. It began in 2016, when a young woman named Leah had just landed her first job after college. Full of hope and independence, she moved into a quiet, modern apartment complex in a new city, ready to start a new chapter. There, she met Adam, a neighbor from down the hall. He seemed a bit awkward at first, socially off, but friendly enough. He offered polite greetings, helped her carry groceries once or twice, made light conversation in the elevator. Harmless, right? But over time, Adam's presence became persistent. He started showing up more often. Not coincidentally, predictably, he began asking oddly specific questions about her routines, what time she left for work, what stores she shopped at, whether she jogged in the evenings or mornings. At a building cookout, surrounded by neighbors, Adam made a joke, one that slipped under most people's radar, but would later haunt Leah. With a laugh, he said, "I'd make the perfect killer. I know how to get rid of evidence." People chuckled. It was awkward, yes, but it seemed like just a bizarre sense of humor. Leah felt unsettled, but shrugged it off. Then came the shift. Adam started getting physically closer. Too close. He'd wait outside his door and accidentally bump into her in the hallway. He'd brush past her shoulder to shoulder without an apology. He once stood directly in front of her apartment door, blocking it, saying he needed to talk. The tension rose. But it wasn't until one night, when Leah came home and saw something on her doormat, that everything changed. A hunting knife. Laid out neatly, no note, no packaging. Just the cold, gleaming metal placed precisely in front of her door. Leah froze. Her gut screamed, "This is not a joke." She called the police. At first, they dismissed it. "A prank," they said. "Probably just someone trying to scare you." But Leah didn't dismiss it. She installed a security camera above her door. She changed her locks. She began writing down every encounter. Every word, every movement, And then, within a few weeks, at exactly 2 a.m., her camera captured Adam standing outside her door. He was wearing gloves. He carried what appeared to be a black duffel bag, and he was trying to pick her lock. Police arrested him immediately. What they found was chilling. In Adam's apartment, investigators uncovered a journal, meticulously detailed. Inside were notes about Leah's daily schedule, her favorite cafes, her usual jogging path. There was even a timeline labeled execution window. This wasn't obsession. It was a plan. And this is the terrifying reality. Most violent individuals don't start with violence. They start with friendliness, with accidental touches, with dark humor passed off as wit, with subtle invasions of your routine. Why? Because they are desensitizing you, conditioning you to ignore the very signs that should send alarm bells ringing. That's why what seems like just a joke or a minor shove isn't always what it appears. It may be the opening scene in a script written with cold precision. The Stoics warned us about this very thing, not out of fear but out of mental preparedness. Seneca wrote, "He who is forewarned is forearmed." In other words, awareness is armor. You don't need to panic, but you do need to notice. If someone repeatedly crosses the line and then laughs it off, pay attention. If their jokes carry hidden threats, if they invade your physical space more and more often, if they don't connect with you emotionally, but instead seem to study your reactions, that's not quirky. That's not just how they are. That's a red flag. And red flags don't wave for fun. They warn. In the previous story, we saw what happens when subtle danger turns physical. But sometimes the threat doesn't move fast. It waits. It blends in. And when it strikes, it's already too late. Ignoring these signs won't just cost you peace of mind. It could cost you everything, including your life. Sign 5, the patient predator. Now we've reached the final, and without question, the most terrifying sign that someone may want to eliminate you. The patient predator. This isn't the person who loses their temper. They don't yell, they don't slam doors, they don't leave threats scribbled on your car windshield. They don't need to. This is the most dangerous kind of enemy, the one who hides behind time. They don't rely on violence. They rely on patience. To the outside world, they appear calm, collected, and utterly ordinary. But beneath that exterior is someone playing a game the Stoic philosophers called the long game. Every move they make is calculated. Every interaction is rehearsed. Every gesture is timed with precision. They don't seek quick revenge. They don't confront you in a heated moment. They wait silently for the perfect moment to strike. Sometimes they wait months, sometimes years. And by then, most people have already let their guard down completely. That's what makes them so terrifying. It's not what they do. It's how normal they seem. They don't set off alarms. They build trust. They become dependable. They ask you about your goals, your plans, your dreams. They want to know when you'll be traveling, moving, alone. Not because they care, because they're collecting data. Every conversation, a field report, every act of kindness, a brick in the false wall of safety they're building around you. They might be your reliable coworker, the one who never forgets deadlines, your friendly neighbor, the one who waters your plants when you're gone, or your best friend, who remembers your birthday better than your own family. But behind the charm, lies a performance, a rehearsed, perfected, and deadly act. The Stoics, especially Epictetus, warned us, our greatest threat is not what we see. It's what we overlook, while we assume the world runs on fairness. These people weaponize that assumption. What you see is crafted to deceive. Their life is a mask. Their kindness, bait. And the most frightening part, they rarely make mistakes. Instead, they wait for yours. That one slip in your routine. That one night you forget to lock the door. That one moment your support system is far away. The second your defenses drop, that's when they strike. And you never see it coming because you trusted them. So, what can you do? You don't need to live in fear, but you do need to live with clarity. Be slow to hand out deep trust, especially to those who seem to bond with you unusually fast. Real trust isn't built in days. It's earned over time, through consistency, not intensity. Guard your plans. Everyone doesn't need to know where you'll be or who you'll be with. Your schedule is not a gift to the world. It's a shield. Protect your boundaries. Kindness is powerful. Compassion is noble, but don't confuse kindness with blind access. You can be warm. You can be generous, but don't let someone move into your world faster than they've earned it. Because the patient predator doesn't break in with violence. They're invited in with trust. We just uncovered the most chilling truth of all, that sometimes the danger isn't sudden or loud. It's calculated, quiet, and patient. Now, here's where everything comes together. The Stoics taught that true awareness is not reactionary. It is constant. It is quiet. And it doesn't wait for things to go wrong to begin paying attention. You must stay awake, especially when everything seems fine. Because sometimes that's when you're most vulnerable. When nothing feels out of place, when routines flow smoothly, when people smile easily, that's when the mask is usually still on. Let's be brutally honest with ourselves now. If, during this video, someone came to mind, if you thought of that one person whose presence always feels a bit too convenient, too calculated, too close, don't brush it off. Don't gaslight yourself into thinking, I'm probably overreacting. Don't silence that little whisper in your gut. Because if you've recognized any of these 5 behaviors, the silent observer, the saboteur, the false friend, the escalating aggressor, or the patient predator, then you're not just dealing with someone who brings bad vibes. You might be standing in the crosshairs of something much, much darker. So before you click away, please do 2 things. First, save this video. You may need to come back to it the next time your instincts start whispering. Because when that uneasy feeling returns, and it will, these signs might make the difference between brushing it off and finally seeing the truth. Second, watch the next video in this series. How to spot a covert narcissist. Why? Because these 5 behavioral patterns, they often walk hand in hand with deeply manipulative covert personalities, the kind that disguise malice under charm and dominance under empathy. Let's be real here. If your gut's been telling you for weeks or months that something's off, this video probably gave you the confirmation you didn't want, but desperately needed. These signs aren't about drama. They're not about being too sensitive. They're about survival. Because someone who just hates you, they'll roll their eyes, they'll gossip. But someone who wants you gone, they observe, they sabotage, they smile, they escalate, and then they wait. That's not petty. That's predatory. So if one nice, seemingly harmless person suddenly flashed in your mind, don't ignore that. Don't explain it away. Your instincts exist for a reason. They've evolved over millennia to detect danger before it strikes. As the old saying goes, the devil doesn't come wearing horns. He comes wrapped in everything you thought you could trust. If this hit a little too close to home, here's what you need to do right now. Subscribe to this channel so you're always one step ahead of the game. Share this video with someone who might be in the dark. Not because it makes you feel good, but because knowledge is your first line of defense. And sharing it, that might just save someone else's life. So stay sharp, stay safe, and above all, stay alive. Because it's not paranoia. If they're actually planning your downfall, trust wisely, and I'll see you in the next one.